Good morning, Westeros.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we are your Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners, and we got Cersei 1 on deck. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Never had a bad day in my life.
Wow. Sweet. Kyle, what do you think? First look at the inner workings of Cersei Lannister.
Yo, and I don't want this to come across as a an endorsement of any of these new characters or any of that, but I'm really liking this book so far. I think it's
nice.
Which is really strange, I guess, because we're still kind of in recap-ish chapters, but I guess because they're new people, it's not really a recap. But
I mean, first reaction at Tywin's death here.
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like this one is different than the other one so far for some reason. The vibe feels different.
Well, it's vastly different in the fact that we don't learn anything new, right? Really, I don't know if we get any new information. The only really new thing we see is we get it from Cersei's perspective.
I meant this book as a whole,
for
the record.
I think maybe just some familiarity. You actually know Cersei.
I was saying this chapter compared to the first three is all new stuff, all new names, all new locations, like everything new. Like there's story going on, but it's also just all new stuff everywhere. Even the prologue. This is, we're back to familiar. We know everything already. Like we know what Cersei's going to find when she goes up to the Tower of the Hand in later the chapter. It's all just like cool because it's from Cersei's perspective and she is kind of crazy.
yeah. I mean, I think you hit
I
a
actually
good.
don't think she's that crazy in this chapter.
I don't know. She just has wild thoughts. Like
she does let her mind wander for sure.
Before we get too far into this chapter, I think you might have missed kind of what I was saying there, Nelson. I think this book as a whole is kind of so far has been more intriguing to me than some of the other two.
Gotcha.
I don't know why yet.
I don't think any chapter's been like a throw. I think each chapter's been interesting in its own way.
Yeah, and I think you were kind of narrowing down, and I think you made a good point as to why the Cersei chapter was kind of interesting, just because it was like we knew the end, and it was kind of getting this weird new build up, and I think you're right. I think she is a little bit weird, and Jeff, we can get into that a little later as to why maybe you didn't think that she did anything strange this chapter, but I think, like I said, I just the pacing of this book so far has been better. I don't know. I don't. It's only been 4 chapters, so I guess maybe I'm really premature on that, but I like it.
I enjoyed the length of this chapter. I'll tell you that.
It's a short one. I'll say on a reread, I've always preached that Feast is better on a reread than normal. I think part of that is because expectations are tempered, and I think we did a pretty good job of tempering your expectations. Like, hey, we're not going to be picking up exactly where we left off, so. And sometimes we are like here, but sometimes we're also not. So I think maybe that helped. But yeah, I will say these past 3 chapters have like so far in this book has not been my favorite chapters. I like the prologue chapter, the first 3 up until including this one. It's kind of for me.
Cool.
I mean, it's just,
and you know me. Normally, I'm like great chapter.
You know, we're starting from ground zero, like you said. Like you don't like it because you didn't learn anything. You're just getting another POV kind of what happened, right?
Yeah, but that's true for all the chapters because I've already read the book, so I'm not really learning anything in any of them. But I still like the storm. I like the storm chapters a lot better, I think, in hindsight. Again, we don't have to linger on it, but it is weird because normally I feel like I like this.
Yeah, well, no one cares because your opinion is based off of nothing. You didn't even say why. You just said you don't like it.
So is mine. So
no, you're enjoying it. You actually can say like Nelson's like I don't enjoy it, but like why don't you enjoy it?
I enjoy all of them. I'll say. I'm just saying if I were to rank all the chapters in a list of however many there are, 300, I bet you these.
Well, why? Because you don't like the characters, you don't like the content, you don't feel like it's relevant. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know if I could put it. Just I don't get.
I liked a lot of the new characters. I liked a lot of the plot points. I think these sand snakes are potential to be super intriguing. Old Town is this crazy, like this huge metropolis that I don't know anything about, right? And like obviously it has some value. I don't know. I feel like he did a good job of kind of.
You know what?
Planting some seeds here that I'm ready to kind of get into.
Now that Jeff actually makes me think about it, I think I probably know why. And I think it's because, like we said in the prologue chapter, I'm the Armin guy. I'm the one that likes to be like actually, this is because of this. And we're getting to the part of the book where some of this stuff that's been set up, Jeff and I don't know the payoffs for yet, right? Like we have like a book of these characters, right? And then Dance will be different characters. So we only have a book of stuff setting up here. So anything that's being set up for wins, like for Cersei, is kind of like, I don't know it either. So like, I'm sure there's a lot of setup here that I'm not understanding. That's maybe why I don't like it. Because when I read Storm,
this
I know
is when
all
I
the
can
setup.
start to be.
Anything.
I can start to be more and more in the spoiler
Exactly.
section.
Yeah.
I mean, soon there might not be a like
That's kind of
like
a
at some
minute.
point.
a minute long deal. Like, nah, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Or I always know something. I always have an idea. Nelson can't think of anything on his own.
I think we get into this here.
Yeah, let's hop in.
Yeah. All right. So Cersei's having a dream, and she's in the nude, but she's in the throne room. She's sitting on top of the throne, ruling court.
If I were to be like Jeff, before you started reading the chapter, if I were to be like Jeff, it starts off with a Cersei dream. What do you think she's dreaming of? I feel like this is obvious, like, be sitting on the throne, right? Like, we've never even been in her head before, and this seems like what she'd be dreaming
I mean, is
of.
it a happy dream? Is it a scary dream? Like, if it was a
Two-handed
nightmare, it could
Jamie.
have been like Joffrey dying. Two-handed Jamie is a good guess. If you're saying like, oh, what she dream of like on a daily basis, yeah, of course it's her sitting on the throne,
Tywin shitting a gold turd right into the bank
right
vault.
into her hands.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't gonna be that awkward about it. Right into the bank vault.
No, she's just sitting there underneath his arse.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, you painted quite the picture, my man.
Yeah. So she's up on the throne. People are below her. And then Tyrion, she didn't say Tyrion, but she says the dwarf, right?
Yeah.
And he's coming in laughing. And then all of a sudden, that's when she realizes she's naked. She pulled the old, like, first day of school. She didn't have her clothes on.
Yeah. I feel like this is a classic dream, too. Like, I feel like people always talk about this dream where they missed an assignment or they have a test that they didn't study for. I never get that dream.
Dude, I get that, like, today. Like, tomorrow night, I might wake up and be like, fuck, I didn't study
I was
for
gonna
that
say
math
it's
test.
usually the wake up, not a dream. It's like you wake up and you're like, "Fuck, did I miss school today or
Yeah.
work
I
today?"
feel like
And
I
it's
have the dream where I'm falling all the time, and I wake up like right before I hit
Yeah,
the ground.
I've
That's the
fallen.
worst. And then I like hurt my neck waking up from that because I flinched so hard. I'm like,
I mean,
fuck.
this has been used in, like, cinema so much where, like, first day of school and you show up and you're in your underwear type of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
Jam
well, that's
it,
what I was gonna
yeah.
say. Is I feel like this naked in a dream is another one of those like classic dream tropes that I feel like a lot of people have.
I can't recall that I've ever been naked in a dream.
I can't either off the top of my head. I feel like I've had a few, but yeah, normally the falling one is one that I always remember, at least waking up from. But yeah, so Cersei, it's worse for her because in her dream, she's not just like on stage; she's on a throne of swords. So as she tries to like squirm and cover herself, she's ripping
She's getting
herself,
sliced. She's
and then the
getting cut
throne
all
starts to
up.
like eat her, and yeah, she's getting fucked up. And then she wakes up.
Are you gonna even get to the metaphor on that? I thought maybe you would.
She's consumed by her want for power,
Yeah, there you go. No,
driven by Tyrion, because Tyrion is leading the
by his
laughing.
laughter.
It's the thing that she covets most is destroying her, right? Like that's obviously what it is.
I think it also shows a little bit of her image, right? Like there's parts here, and I don't know. I don't like when people like accuse other people of being like psychopaths or sociopaths or like having different disorders because those have like real definitions that you can't just like throw around. But like Cersei, so and I'm jumping way ahead here, but she mentioned it a few times. She doesn't seem to care emotionally that Tywin died. Like logically, she's like, okay, there are problems we have to solve now. But she even says at one point, like, should I be ripping my hair out like Kat did, or like, what should I be doing? How should I be acting to the like, you know what I mean? So I feel like she has this whole like, how should I act? People are watching me. I need to act like I should be acting. How do I do that? So she has this whole like, I need to put on a show. Like my image is important type thing.
I think that's fair, a fair assessment. I will also kind of counter that with the later stuff and that like sometimes that shock of that news, right? Like you don't know, like you just get put into I get put into a weird blank state a lot of times.
100%. I feel like that a lot where I'm
emotion
like,
where it's like I don't know, yeah, like this.
I feel like
just
I'm
can't
reacting not
process
how
it.
most people would. Yeah, and then you feel like, am I doing something wrong? Yeah.
So that was how I interpreted kind of her going through
And I can
those.
see that.
But I see what you're saying as well.
Well, also another example, like she's like, don't take the body out through the yard, right? Which is a more obvious example, but it's like we have appearances to keep up here. Like we don't want.
I think you can't have him being shot in the guts while he was taking a shit and like in bed with a whore. Like I mean, I think there was more than just like don't take the body out. I think it was like he's in this awful condition. Like take the crossbow bolt out of his fucking intestines.
But it all goes to we have images to keep up. Like if she says, if anybody get word of this gets out, I'm taking the tongue and killing the person or whatever.
A lot of it, too, well, definitely like him laying with Shay, but him just like having the crossbow bolt in him is just like, what are you doing? Like, why would you just leave that there?
Yeah,
like, this isn't a
showing
crime
his
scene type of
and-
thing.
yeah.
Like, they're not taking forensics and fingerprints. Like, clean his ass up and get him ready for the Silent Sisters. But all right, so Sanel, new character, wakes her up. She must be a handmaid.
Yep.
And then as she realizes that Snell woke her up. There's a bunch of people around her too. A bunch of Kingsguardmen, and then maybe some of her guard in the back. She's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, why are these people in my bedroom?
Yeah, how'd you get past my guards? Like what you just said, like where are my guards at?
Yep. So the other handmaiden is Jocelyn Swift, and the two Kingsguard are Osmond Kettleblack and Boris Blunt. They're there, and then there are some guards in the background. And yeah, they give her the news, but she's like foggy, waking. Like we get it over like a page or whatever. She's foggy, waking up from dreams.
Yeah,
she says like they said. Quick. She's like they said crossbow and father and privy, but it didn't make any sense. But then she like starts to come to. She takes a little sip of water, and she's like, "Wait, what? Are you guys serious right now?"
Tyrion's locked up. He couldn't have done this. Yeah, this couldn't have happened. Tyrion's locked up. What's going on? Whole bunch of that, right?
Yep. And she also thinks, "Man, I'm glad Tyrion dies today. Yep. Today is the day.
Tommen's throne becomes secure." Exactly. My twisted little Valonqar will be short ahead and rotting. New Game of Thrones word, real Game of Thrones word. So don't go looking this one up.
I was going to ask if that was Game of Thrones word.
I think she says it again, right? She says this the second time this chapter, I think.
What?
The word Valonqar.
Yeah, I think she says
I think it's kind of supposed to be like, what's that word that Arya is saying for a while before we really know what it exactly means?
Valar Morghulis?
Valar Morghulis, right? I think it's one of those where it's like, hey, another word.
Is this a Game of Thrones word, or
it is
a
a real Game of Thrones word? Yeah,
it's a real Game of Thrones word.
It's a Game of Thrones word. Like we use the term Game of Thrones word to mean like a real word that I don't know. So when I say real Game of Thrones word, I mean like, yes, this is only in Game of Thrones. George made this up.
So why would you just not say yes? It's a Game of Thrones word
because. Like
why would you say it's a real?
Because when we say like two score, we say like Fortnite. We say is a Game of Thrones word, but you can look Fortnite up. That's a real word.
That. Nobody else says
real
that.
Word.
But that's the whole joke about Game of Thrones word is that real words are Game of Thrones words. If we're too stupid to know what they are.
No, there are Game of Thrones words,
and this is a real Game of Thrones word.
Exactly.
No,
you said it. Yeah.
No,
you were going to say it. You were going to
say this is an actual Game of Thrones word.
This is a word that George made up for this book.
So a lot of people scared around her, and she's like, all right, where were his guards, right? He's always got guards around him. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And they tell her that they found a secret passage in the fireplace, and Jaime went down. Pretty stupid of Jaime. Like,
yeah, she says it later, but
that
it's like
climb wasn't easy, and you have
stupid.
one hand.
I'll be fair. At the beginning, you probably don't know there's a ladder, but you are in a tower.
Sure.
So
all right. So you want to like crawl through, but then you find out that there's, I don't know, 700 feet of ladder.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrion made it
with two hands and two.
I mean, he's also half the size, half the height.
This was made for Tyrion. But so I want to ask
I guess
I think it's interesting now. This would have been an interesting chapter to get from Jaime's perspective, right? So think about this. Jaime shows up. He gets there before Cersei.
20 pages of him crawling down a fucking chute. That would have been great.
Jaime shows up. What's his survey? Like, what's his thoughts when he sees the situation?
So I'm even of the mind here that, well, I guess he came up from the bottom and said everything was locked at the end, but I didn't even buy that he went down that ladder. Like, I mean, I could still see him coming up from it. Like, he was down there. He knew Tyrion was out. Like, he had.
You think he just followed Tyrion though?
I mean, why not?
So what? He lets Tyrion go, then he just follows them and then goes up the ladder.
I don't remember, like, I guess exactly what happened at the end. I remember Varys was down there with him for sure.
Him and Tyrion
gave some like bad comment, like, "Yes, I did kill your son."
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he screamed at Jaime for sure. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Because Jaime told him about Tysha.
I guess it was more of like the splitting up part. Yeah, because what happened with Tysha? He was the one that
she wasn't
a horse. She actually liked. Tywin just told me to go along.
That's
with
right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
The interesting part is Jaime walks in and he's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck did I do?"
Yeah. So like, is he trying to cover his own tracks by going down there? Like, that's kind of why I'm not even sure that he went down that chute.
And
right?
the reason I brought this up is because I think some people say that some people in fandom say that Jaime said I'll go because he knew he would go slower than a normal person, with the thoughts that
give Tyrion some time to get away.
Might be right on his tail. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that.
But would he really want to? Like, we don't know his emotion right now. Like, oh shit, I let you free and now you killed our dad. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how you would take that, the killing of the father. I just think it's interesting and we'll get Jaime's thoughts on this because he is a POV character, right?
So she's like, "Yo, who's watching Tommen?" Like, and he's safe at bed. There's 12. Jamie put 12 men around him, and Sir Loras is there.
She's like, Loras,
she's like, what the fuck?
enemy?
Like,
Why
are
would
you kidding me? Why him?
So this is like, I think, kind of when I say Cersei's crazy, this is kind of where it starts to creep in. Like, she just has like such strict feelings about certain people. Like, first off, fuck anybody that's not royalty. She's like, other people should be dead just to accompany Tywin. Kill the guards immediately that are asleep.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, she just has no regard for human life.
But she's the one playing this game, right? Like, she does know the game as well as most. She knows how backstabby it can be.
Sure,
right?
I think a lot of her thoughts make sense. I'm not saying she's stupid.
Can I say?
Yeah, sorry.
I think some of the. Well, no, you're right. I don't even think you cut me off. I was just wanting to say this before we get to. I think some of what creates the game is people like her, though.
For sure.
Jeff, like, I think without her, you wouldn't have a lot of these problems. So while you say she's good at being involved in this,
I don't know if she invented the game, but she's definitely she definitely has taken her.
She perpetuates it for sure.
Her place in it.
She makes the waves that people like Varys and Littlefinger surf on, I feel like.
I did also want to say this kind of goes back to the point I was making at the beginning of the pod that we'd get to later. We see her kind of say some things, Jeff, that we either know to be not true, or at least Tyrion had like a different experience around her where like she thinks she's in control and powerful and all the time. And like, at least from the Tyrion chapters, you know, we had this kind of alternate view of her losing her shit and like kind of slow descent into like this weird bitter place, right?
Sure.
So I guess what I'm kind of getting at is like this is one of the first, like, at least for me, the way I'm interpreting it is like one of the first times we're seeing for sure some like really bad narrator kind of stuff, or even just like her own personality is covering some of these traits, right? So like, well, she's saying that she's so good at the game and I'm this important player and I must be doing this and I must be doing. I think it's kind of like lies she's feeding herself too at times.
Her delusion, definitely,
or at least just how she sees. Yeah, her delusions. There you go.
Her delusion feeds into her ego, feeds into her character, the whole
deal.
Yeah.
So like when Nelson said she's crazy, and you're like, I don't know, not so much in this chapter. I think maybe she doesn't think she's crazy, but I think she does some crazy stuff for sure.
Well, on the other hand, hold up, some of that is delusion, though.
I don't want to say too much about like what we learn, you know, because we get a little bit of taste of her. You know, we will see more, but she's not crazy for like being, you know, cautious of everybody, right? Like she doesn't trust anybody. I think that's smart.
I think this is a good time to be paranoid, right? Tyrion or whoever literally could be in the walls. Yeah. Like that is not a crazy thought.
There are things where she's like,
is it paranoia if it's a possibility, or does like does the word paranoia imply like there's nothing to fear? But
and this is the last thing I'll say about Cersei. Like there are some things that I definitely believe that if she was Jaime, she would have done completely differently. Like if she was a male, she would have taken a lot more than what she has.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, that Cersei does have like kind of a chip on her shoulder, but for like a good reason. Like she is coming at this playing a game that most people, like most women, just can't play at her level, at this level, right? And she's up there with the best of them.
We'll get there later, but really quickly, like Jaime not wanting to be hand, like she would have like jumped on that, like fuck it, all right, I'm hand now, like let's start moving some shit. But she would have done it like she's already a regent, right? So she knew she didn't need to be hand, yada yada. But like she's not like afraid to do, like Jaime's already like kind of like, nah, I don't want to be on Castle Rock. I don't want to be hand. Yeah. She would have been like, all right, fuck it, I'm running Castle Rock now. I'm not going there, but this is what we're doing over here, and I'm going to be hand, so start listening to me.
And I find, like, I just can't stand people like that. So that's where
I don't say I like
kind of,
okay.
But I was just saying, maybe that's where I differ. I don't know. It seemed like you were idolizing it in a way, and I maybe you weren't. Maybe I was just misrepresenting.
I just think she's truthful to herself when she like truly believes that she would do X, Y, and Z if she was a male.
Well, I understand, too. Gotcha. Like, if as a woman, those things are just things she can't do. Like Brienne can't be a knight, right? And then someone else gets knighted.
If she was a man and was still like jumping on all this stuff, that had nothing to do with her being a woman. Be saying that about people like that. I just can't stand people that are like trying to fill that vacuum of power immediately and that kind of stuff.
I know. I'm just saying, I think the woman perspective is interesting for Cersei, right? Because I think, like, I agree with you that I wouldn't be jumping on that stuff. But it's one of the things where it's like you want what you can't have. Cersei can't be hand. She really like can't be heir to. I mean, maybe she is right now because Tyrion like dead or gone, and Jaime's actually a Kingsguard, so she might be, but it actually probably would legally go to Kevin.
Probably does. Yeah, it probably passes
right?
her. Right?
Exactly. It probably doesn't go to her because she's a woman. So the fact that Jaime's like, nah, I don't want it. Nah, I don't want it. That would be frustrating as fuck when that like, there's nothing I can do.
This is all I want more.
And you are just giving it for nothing. And you're like, nah, like I understand why that would be insanely frustrating. Right. So, and just 2 points before we go on. Sorry, I'm kind of derailing us. But to Kyle's PowerPoint, like where the whole like Cersei looked like she thought she had way more power than she did. 100% agree. But things in this chapter just changed drastically. Right? I think that's part of why Cersei's like, okay, there's a lot of power on the table that's up for grabs right now because Tywin's dead.
But what I think, and maybe this is a prediction or maybe it's something you don't even know yet, but what I think is that, I mean, to me, this would leave it at even less up for her, right? Like, I think less people respect her now. Just like, I feel like Tywin was part of this.
Yeah. I think you do see that by the events of this night, right? Like she ends up figuring out she's the last one, which we get. I do agree.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's kind of what I was getting at with some of that, like her own delusions and thinking she was more important. Like, obviously nobody fucking thinks she's that important. And like without Tywin around, like who's to say that all these other people aren't going to push back, right? Like, and that even starts to happen here. Yeah.
And the one last point I wanted to before we continue on was that we were talking about, my whole point was why I thought she was crazy is because like the sections that are italicized, like her internal monologue in it, like somebody will say something like, oh, Loras is defending the king. Like if that was Tyrion or Jaime, they'd think of a joke to themselves or something, right? Cersei's like, what an enemy. I wish we would kill him, right? Like just like, what? That is so
unhinged,
like just a little bit too far, right? Like it's always over the line. Every
but I don't think
thought,
it is because she knows what she's done to these people. She knows what she's done herself in the game to get her to this point. So like she's on her toes because she knows she's fucked a lot of people. That's like, who's trying to fuck me now?
And now that you said it, actually kind of goes back to the Lady Weber thing, right? Like, and what does Lady Weber say? Lady must piss twice as hard. Like I have to hold my ground on all this shit because I have to appear stronger than normal. So yeah.
All right, back on track. So she's like, all right, let me get dressed. I'm going to go to the tower. But while I'm getting dressed, you better send some fucking people down. And I want to make sure Tyrion is in the cells.
Yeah.
And
Boros,
she had to look at Boris Blunt's stupid face who ran and hide at the Blackwater. And she's like, why is this guy still a Kingsguard?
That's not why she doesn't like Boros. It was related to the Blackwater kind of, but it wasn't at the battle.
Well, whatever he did, he was craven. I forget what
Kyle?
I forget. Yeah, I know he
was the one supposed to defend Tommen when she was sending Tommen off to be protected, and then Bronn confronts him on the road, and he just gives up. So she stripped his white cloak. Tywin gave Boros his white cloak back when Tywin took over, and she thinks here like he never should have done that. He's a craven.
Yep,
and that's why Jaime made him the food taster. So,
yep, and she finds out here that Lum found him on the privy when he was going to relieve himself. There's Daddy Tywin sitting taking a poopy, and has got crossbow bolts in him.
So you asked what Jaime found earlier, Nelson, but could you imagine what this dude walked in on?
Sure.
Right? Like this guy, he's like either got to piss or take a dump himself, right?
Well,
and like he opened the door and it's a dude you're supposed to be guarding, fucking dead. Like,
here's the real question. If Lum walked in and Tywin was taking a shit, do they group poop together? Like, do they have a little...
Is there a second one?
Yeah, is there multiple? Would they go side
Is it a
saddle?
one staller? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So she's
walking over, and this is one of the...
Before she's there, she's like, "Damn! Like, who's coming? Like, who would do this? Who's coming after me?" And she thought of the people who will come for her because of all the things that she's done. Right? Like, she killed yada yada yada. So, but yeah, then she takes the climb. Am I crazy, Nels?
I don't know where you're at.
Right before he starts walking. I don't know.
Okay. I don't have anything about after Lum.
Let him come. I will smash him, just as father did. Like she thought Stannis was back.
Yeah, she couldn't believe Tyrion would do this. She still would refuse to believe it.
Sorry, just before that, because the quote that I have, and I might be wrong, might not be while they're walking, but it's the first thing for like how she feels slightly weird. Or I think it's a weird. I think it's a cool quote. But she says she remembers the first time she had lost a tooth. When she was just a little girl, it hadn't hurt, but the hole in her mouth felt so odd she could not stop touching it with her tongue. Now there is a hole in the world where father stood, and holes want filling. So like
she didn't walk. They're not walking. They didn't leave yet, which is
that's fine. But okay, I was wrong about that. But she's like there was a hole like where there was no pain.
Yeah, the power vacuum.
It hadn't hurt, but the hole in her mouth felt so odd. So it's like I don't really feel anything about him dying, but this is weird. Like this is weird not having my dad there. And
well, maybe it hasn't hit yet either. Like she hasn't seen the body. She hasn't.
Sure.
And
everyone grieves differently.
I mean, that's still kind of how I feel about mine. I don't know. It's weird. Like, and I was pretty close with him. Like, so that's like, it's like it's a thing that happened at this.
Death is weird.
I guess it's
Death
old
is
now,
weird.
but
like,
yeah, it's just strange. Like, there's nothing you can do to fix it, right? Like,
and everybody handles it differently. Like, I've had really close family friends who died, or like even a grandma who I didn't see that often who died, and I felt nothing. I kind of felt like Cersei did here. Like, am I a bad person because I don't feel anything about this? But I feel like if like my dad died,
I guess
maybe because I've never had a really close relative die. I feel like if my dad died, I would like have to call off work for a month. Like I wouldn't be able to, you know what I mean? Like I'd be
for sure.
Fuck me up.
It is an interesting quote to break down.
Yeah, and maybe it will next
her.
chapter. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Is like,
it might take a minute.
And she might be in disbelief yet, right? Like she just got woken up. And she's like, "What the fuck? Like what?
This is action time right now. Your adrenaline's going exactly. Yeah, it's yeah.
But so she's climbing the steps and she's like, "Fuck this! There's way too many. Like I'm about to tear this shit down." I just thought that was funny. And she got up there, and there's way too many people for her, like, and standing around watching, just kind of being there. And she's like, "Get all these extra people out." It doesn't sound like too many people leave because she's just continued to be surrounded by people.
I think right before she gets there, the other thing she thinks that's weird is she's like, actually, it's kind of a good thing that Tywin's dead. No one's going to maybe marry anybody anymore, and now I'm going to be in charge of Castle Rock. Which, again, I think is the whole I'm going to be in charge of Castle Rock is, I think, that's little delusional. Weird, But we talked about this, too. Like, the maester on the Iron Islands the other day was saying, like, yeah, Asha is up next. But, like, no, that's not how this works, like, from what we've seen, right? And, like, that's kind of what Cersei's going by the same rules as that guy. But
yeah, he's got his own. There was one, I like this, just it was like, well, she keeps saying, like, there's no fitting way for a lion. A lion does not deserve to die like this, blah, blah. But it was like, when the lion falls, the lesser beast movement. And this really just kind of shows her, like, her opinion of them and herself. And just, like, like the jackals and vultures and feral dogs. Everybody's always just trying to get me and get what is mine. But it's like, first off, this wasn't even hers to begin with, right? Like, I mean, it was hers by marriage to Robert. Yeah. Let's go back to that.
Exactly.
And then, like, she has all this problems with which and that seemed even set up, right? Like, that was a arranged marriage somewhere along the way. I don't know if I know the ins and outs of that yet, but
I think when she's going through like, hands are a bad idea, maybe we should just get rid of it. I think she says like, John Aaron's the reason that I'm with Robert or something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know that I know the whole story there yet. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, she acts like this was all hers from, like, for some reason this is owed to her, but it's like, why, right? Like,
you're just here, you're along for the ride pretty much. Yeah.
Like, you're sure you're kind of a rich girl from some rich family that now is, like, part of this for sure, but, like, I don't know that it was hers to begin with, by birthright at least.
Yeah.
So it's really strange. I think it's... But that's also kind of what makes this chapter so interesting to me.
Exactly, that's the whole thing. She's entitled.
Yeah, she's very entitled. There you go. That's the word.
And she was born the wrong gender in her own mind. She's like, fuck, like, this should all be mine. But so, as another thought she has is all these people around. She's like, how the fuck do all these people know and not me? I'm the Queen Regent. This is bullshit. And it's my father. So, Meryn, get all these people out. Where's my dad? Is he still on the shitter? And they're like, no. They moved him to his bed. She pops on in. Uncle Kevin's praying bedside and
says he's struggling to get the words out. So does that mean like he's broken up about this? That's how I took that, but I'm not 100% sure.
I would say he doesn't forget the prayer, right? He's probably, I would say it's more what you're saying. And there's guards chilling by the secret passageway.
Yep.
I will say Kevin didn't seem to exist much without Tywin, right? Like, he seemed like he really needed him to be around to have some importance.
Yeah, we really haven't seen Kevin do anything except for like advise Tywin. Yeah, obey Tywin.
Yeah, or obey Tywin.
He's kind of like number 2 in Austin Powers.
Yeah,
like number 2 didn't really do shit for Dr. Evil, but he was kind of always there.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like he's just kind of there because of Tywin. So that's kind of could be why he's so like sad. Like, his gravy train is dead now essentially, or his connection is dead.
Or he could be thinking payday.
Exactly.
Or he could be like, ooh.
Like, he could be thinking what Cersei's thinking, where I'm up, I'm next up, or because he probably is. Next
but I guess
up.
what I'm saying is like
Brucey's
he
time to shine.
didn't seem to have that
ambition.
Yeah. He seemed to
he was more of
exist
a follower.
in Tywin's shadow.
And he's been there for a long time. Like he's probably 50.
Yeah, he's
got
got to be.
right?
I mean, I'm not sure how. Yeah, probably up there. Pretty close.
So
fucking Stannis.
Yeah, it was either Stannis or the Tyrells.
She didn't want to believe Tyrion too, right? She's like, can't be him. Stannis, like, did he come back? Like, good, I'll fucking kill him for good this time. I'll do what my dad couldn't.
Yeah, because she sees the passageway that she's like, that's a man would have to crawl, but that'd be perfect for. Oh no, it couldn't be Tyrion. So that's how she gets on that. Yeah.
And then are the Tyrells still here?
Yeah, could the Tyrells be behind it? Then she's thinking about the passages. Maegor the Cruel had everybody killed so that nobody would know about him. She wonders what other like bed chambers have secret passages, and she thinks about Tyrion crawling out from behind a tapestry in Tommen's bedroom.
Just laughing.
Is this from like one of your real early spoiler sections when they were talking about the Red Keep? Did you guys ever like, oh, remember this later on?
The passages?
When Tyrion pops out.
Thinks this.
No, you guys, like years ago in the episode where we
probably.
talked about the construction, was that like one of your spoiler sections?
Well, I mean, the passages are important for more than that. So Arya falls in them like 10 chapters after that. I keep saying Cersei. Kat hears about this the first time in a pretty early chapter when she's first arriving in King's Landing is when we learn about Maegor building this and killing everybody. Then Arya stumbles into him pretty shortly after. Tyrion, and I feel like they've been important. I mean, this is definitely
I know, but I thought this would be another important one.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been like, oh, Tywin's going to die, you know.
I think this one we definitely leaned into and we talked about it in the last Tyrion chapter when he actually does the killing of Tywin. But there's a mural on the floor in this passageway, which is kind of how Tyrion knows he's below the Tower of the Hand. Because one time when he's with Shay, he's like, how did you get here? He's like, oh, a secret passageway. There was a mural on the floor. Yeah. So then I think that is the one that was like, that's like a book. That one's like, that's Shay chapter is like a book ahead of the Tyrion chapter.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because she was like hooded or whatever, right?
So it's all under the veil of this secret passages. But I think that is like the big connection to this whole thing. But yeah. Seeds being planted.
Yeah. Gotcha. So she walks in, she sees him laying there, and she's, describes his body a little bit, right? And she did not recognize him. He had hair like her father, yes, but this was some other man, surely a smaller man and much older. And he's pretty naked, right? Like, for the most part, he's got the quarrel in his thigh,
pants down,
quarrel
at least,
in his belly,
no pants,
and just blood everywhere. And she's like, "Why the fuck would you guys leave him like this? Like, this was the hand of the king of 3 kings." And the greatest man of ever, and you're disrespected him.
Well, here's my other quote. She's like, take the quarrel out. This is the hand of the king. And then she thinks to herself, and my father, my lord father, should I scream and tear my hair? They say Catelyn Stark had clawed her own face to bloody ribbons when the Freys slew her precious Robb. Would you like that, father? She wanted to ask him. Or do you want me to be strong? Did you weep for your own father? And then later she thinks about, like, or it might be here, like his father's death. Yeah. His father died climbing the stairs to go see a mistress.
I had a heart attack.
This is before she knows Shay's in the bed, right? She doesn't, or she's willfully ignoring at the
what I want to say here, though, is that this seems like it's kind of her, like, one last, like, shit, I could still never win your affection, father, and now you're gone. It's kind of like, what would you have liked, father? What is the reaction I need to give you to get your approval?
That makes sense,
like,
too.
It's also her kind of realizing that she can't. Right?
Yeah, or it doesn't matter anymore.
Or it's just not in her. I'll also say one thing, like how people respond to these events. Like, I'll just use like a lot lesser thing than like death. But like, say someone gets hurt, right, at a job, or like we're playing a sport, someone gets injured. You're a fantasy player. Like, you got to go kind of next man up mentality. Some people can do that a lot better than others, right? Some people are like, well, fuck it, this is over. Where she's like, all right, let me pick up the pieces real quick. Like, she's kind of call to actioning right now.
She has to, grieving.
Yeah. That's a good point too. You're basically saying she's like, I don't have time to be emotional. I got to lock in right now. Yeah.
This is not the time for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that definitely it's a crisis reaction for sure.
I don't know if I agree with either of what you guys said, but I think they're both valid. I still think what I said more likely, given Cersei, that she's just emotionless.
Okay.
But I think those are both good points.
Well, I don't know, but I also think she might have been raised to like not like Tywin's never been like and she kind of mentions it here. Like, I think she was bred to like, you don't show emotion. Like, there's shit to be done type of thing. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm like, Tywin's probably like, fuck it, I'm dead. What are you going to do about it now?
Yeah.
Like if his ghost was talking to her, that's probably his message.
And that's exactly what she said and what Kyle's saying. She's like, do you want me to be strong? Did you weep for your own father? And then here she's like, how did his father die? He died climbing the stairs to his own mistress. He got fat, died of a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
But Tywin wasn't there. Tywin in King's Landing. And she's like, what did you do when you got word? She's like, if he wept, he did it with someone where no one saw, because I guess the word is that Tywin didn't really have a reaction to his own father's death based on what she's saying.
The word is at least just that he's a hard ass, right? Like nobody ever knew him to have emotion. Yeah. So why would, if that happened, that would be part of the story, is kind of her assumption there at least. Yeah. But I think at the same time, she still doesn't know what he did or how to react. And she kind of feels like she wants to cry. I think Nelson is kind of, I don't know. I think maybe I'm giving her too much credit.
I think there might be a part, but maybe we'll see later on when we get her again.
But like what Jeff was kind of saying is like, I need to stay strong for you. I like the way I was taught by you is this, like I want to have this reaction, but I can't.
So she's like, all right, Jaime's down the goddamn secret passageway. Who knows where he's at, what he's doing. Maester Pycelle's already been here and gone. Like that's some bullshit. Like bring me a maester right now, any maester. And get my father cleaned up.
She's like, people had time to fucking come and leave
before I.
Not just people. Pycelle, old ass Pycelle climbed up all these stairs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly.
So they end up Short Ear the guy.
Short Ear and
bring
Puckins.
Kyber, and he's like, who the fuck are you? You don't even have a chain. And he's like, well, they kind of took it from me because I'm a freak, but I saved your brother's life / arm. And she's like, oh, so I have you to credit for not saving his hand.
He does say he's like, hey, I treated your brother's hand. She's like, you mean his stump? He's like, it's true, I couldn't save his hand. And I thought this was like, that's like his hand was off when Qyburn met him. Right. What's he supposed to do? Some Yuri shit? Like what happened with
True. He probably would have tried to sew some shit back on. Yeah.
Do you think this is an intentional parallel to Yuri, where Qyburn's like, you know what? We're not trying to save the hand. Sometimes you just got to cut your losses.
I think it was too late by that point. Like
Qyburn's going fire and salt water.
She was rotted by the time it got to Qyburn.
We don't know what that's true. It was like days, not like
if it was fresh. Yeah. Who knows what Qyburn?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I don't know. I was thinking of Yuri. I thought about Yuri from the Aeron chapter when he was talking about this.
Qyburn was with Vargo Hoat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
After he got booted from the Citadel.
Yeah, I knew that part. I was just trying to trace his history.
So she's about to be like, all right, like. Clean up my dad, like get the second sisters in. Maybe she was gonna go like have her morning cup of wine or whatever. It kind of seemed like she was done with the situation. And they're like, well, what about the other body? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, what other body?
There's Shay laying there, face blackened, hand chain choked her out still, digging into the skin.
Half buried in the flesh of her throat, twisted so tight it had broken the skin.
And she's just like, why the fuck would Tyrion's whore be in here? Why? My dad doesn't need that.
Yeah.
My dad's Superman. He doesn't need
He never did any of that since mom died.
Yeah. That's probably like if there's a crazy thing and just thinking that Tywin's just been like chilling for the last 30 years by himself.
Well, yeah, she's like he hasn't. Sorry, do you guys want to say what I was looking at?
I said not since mom died.
That's like even if you don't think he's going to whores,
let me say
that's got to be a little delusional, right?
I think that's a great, and I just shook my head. Yes, I'm sorry that doesn't translate to podcast. So yes, Nelson, that is delusional. But I think this is a great kind of insight into how little she knew about things she thought she knew, right?
Exactly. Well, yes.
Like if he managed to keep this completely from her,
what else is he keeping?
Like
from
who? What else? Yeah. Like right. Like he obviously could do stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this whole thing is hypocritical, especially like I think it's a great like plot point, right? Because we get into what happened with his dad in a little bit. Yeah. So after she says, I think so, Jeff. Actually, I think to your point, I think she does a really good job throughout the whole chapter of like she does have some like I was saying off the wall thoughts, but like, everything she's saying to people makes sense except for here. When she sees the body, she thinks to herself, like, he hasn't touched another woman since my mother died. And she looks to the guards and then starts to, like, explain all this nonsense.
This is not... When Lord Tywin's father died, he returned to Castle Rock to find a woman of this sort, bedecked in his lady mother's jewels, wearing one of her gowns. He stripped them off her, and all else as well. For a fortnight, she was paraded naked through the streets of Lannisport, to confess to every man she met that she was a thief and a harlot. That was how Lord Tywin Lannister dealt with whores. He never. This woman was here for some other purpose, not for
And then Qyburn cuts her off and gives it a suggestion. But I want your thought on this, Jeff. Like, I agree with you that Cersei's pretty good about most things. I think she slips up one other time in like keeping a good like picture of we have this under control. I'm just showing up to manage things. But this is like she doesn't need to explain this. She just should be like, get the body out of here. Like, who gives a fuck?
Little word vomit for sure.
Right.
I think this is the one thing that's like really takes her back, right? Like she had this image of her dad of being like, and now like, oh my God, am I questioning? Like, do I start questioning now? Now he's dead. Like I can't even find out the truth of what's going on. Like obviously she doesn't want to accept that he had Shay there to be her little lioness.
Yeah. She knows.
She knows.
I mean, she even says it like 2 paragraphs later. She's like, yeah, naked and with her legs open. Like, yeah, perfect way to get some information out of her. Like she's very obviously trying to convince herself of this other reality. And
I think trying to convince everybody else too. Like everybody else.
I think she knows. I think it's only herself.
Well, I think she's trying to throw
at this point, because this is hot off the presses. She's like, no, it can't be. But I think as she like sits and thinks about it, she's like, I'm being delusional. Like clearly it is what it is. And like you said, so Qyburn, she's like, it can't be.
She does go to the thought that like she was here questioning her. Oh yeah. Questioning her while she was spreading her legs.
Quickly, she realizes that's stupid because of the state she's found in. Because so Qyburn gives her this out. Like, oh, she wasn't here for that. She was here because Tywin was questioning her. And she's like, yeah, of course. That's obviously what it was. Because of Sansa, blah, 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 blah. But then she's like, she sees Tyrion leering, his mouth twisted in a monkey's grin beneath the ruin of his nose. What better way to question her than naked with her legs well spread? The dwarf whispered. That's how I like to question her too.
Well, that was what I was saying. Yeah, I'm sorry, I ruined the quote, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like get over your fucking self, Cersei.
Like,
you know.
Okay, we can go with this story for the public, but if I don't buy it, is anybody else gonna buy it?
Anybody in this room's not buying it. Yeah. So the Kettle Black boys are there now, and she's like, "Yo, no one is to know that Shay was even in this bedroom."
I'm surprised she didn't just say like throw her down the fucking hole in the fireplace or something, like get rid of her.
Well, they do end up taking her that way, right? Which now they're carrying a body down the ladder.
They did take her down there, yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, hold on. I think both of you are right. She says take them down that hole. Osmond's going to get to the ladder and be like,
you're like, fuck that. She can toss.
Exactly.
Like, that's going to be a nasty cleanup then.
And the doors are all locked. So then what are they? They're going to get to the bottom with like a smush. And, poor Shay.
She's in a blanket.
Leave her there, climb back up.
She's wrapped up.
Fuck her for what she did to Tyrion.
Yeah. All right. And she does think about the promises that she had given her to Shay, right? Cersei was like, oh, well, I promised her to marry a knight and these jewels and shit that she wanted from Tyrion. And
I think everybody knew that wasn't going to happen though, right?
But when she came to ask, she's like, okay, I'll give it to you when you tell me where Sansa went, because you obviously knew. And Shay's like, no, I didn't. And she left crying. Yeah. That's how that conversation went.
And then she went to Tywin, pretty much is what happened next, to get everything she couldn't before.
Maybe. That might be how that happened.
And now Jaime's back.
Yeah, she's like, Kettle Blacks, take him down there. Jaime crawls out before they can get in. One thing about Tywin whoring, I think is kind of interesting. It was spoiler section-y earlier. It doesn't really come up again, so I think it's a fine time to talk about it now that we've seen Tywin had Shay there. When Tyrion is going to Alyaya's brothel, Alyaya takes him to this like top room where he can go through the wardrobe and go through the secret tunnel.
Yep. To the manse. Yep.
That top room, Alyaya explains to Tyrion that a previous hand had this built. So he would sneak in this way. Tyrion comes in the front door and leaves that way.
Yeah.
This hand would sneak in that way. We don't know if it's Tywin or not, but the room that the top floor that has a secret wardrobe has a stained glass window that's red and gold, or red and yellow. So Lannister color. So we don't know if it's Tywin, but a previous hand and Lannister color. So
it's hinted at it.
I think that is a hinted at that the previous hand could have been Tywin during.
Which is also super weird then too, because Tywin hates that Tyrion had whores.
Well, yeah,
he is publicly super against whores.
He hates exactly. Yeah, and I can't bring her to court. But that's what's fucked up, right?
He never coached him up to.
Well, no, that's what's fucked up. Is Tyrion did a good job. A decent job of hiding her at first, but like I think if he didn't have to try so hard, like he was trying too hard to hide her almost.
Well, I can almost see that be what Tywin's saying. Is Tywin saying, "Hey, don't bring that whore to court"? But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, "Do not get
don't
caught
let court see you with that whore." Yeah.
Court. And when he shows up and he's like, "I know of Shay," that's not saying I know of Shay.
Yeah.
He's saying I know Shay, so anybody could know of
Everybody
Shay.
knows it's Shay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could see it being that way. I don't take it that way. I take it more.
But then he bangs Shay himself.
Well, I think when you go back to Tywin's father, right? Tywin comes back. We just read the story.
Yeah, the whore killed my dad.
He strips her naked. I think that. Now I'm getting into. I'm the psychologist. Tywin's on the couch. Tywin has this whore attraction and repulsion because of his father. But I mean, I think it's kind of all linked somehow, right?
I was gonna say it's also like he also blames Tyrion for the mom's death. He's like incorrectly placing a lot of this blame in the wrong locations, I guess is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
too.
That's true. I don't know if I have any answers, but there's definitely interesting like through lines through a lot of these things, right? Like Tywin's father, Tywin and Shay, Tywin hating other whores, Tywin potentially being the hand that is made a fucking secret tunnel to get into the whorehouse, right? Like, I think it's all potentially tied together. So just it's a thing that Jeff and I definitely talked about back in those early chapters that I think there's nothing else we're going to learn except for Tywin seemed to be okay with whores himself. Yeah.
All right. So Jaime returns. He's like, yeah, tower's a locked maze. Like, it's crazy. Who knows where all these secret passages and tunnels go to. Didn't find anybody. And she's like, all right, like, it's your time. Your hand now. You got to step up.
So they're hugging here. So they hug because their father died. So this isn't like, I don't think anyone's
She wants to give him a kiss.
Yeah, she wants to give him a kiss. She's like, later. Because, again, I don't think anyone thinks weirdly of this because their brother and sister, their father just died, right? That during this time, she's like, okay, it's time. You got to step up. One thing she says, besides you should be the next hand, she's like, we are the heirs.
Yeah.
And that's not how heir works. Like, heir is one person.
But they shared a womb.
They shared a womb. They came into the world together. Exactly. So I think that
we are his heirs, Jaime.
They might have had this conversation before.
I think it's a really interesting line.
Once Daddy's gone, it's our time. And that's basically what she gets into. Like, all right, it's your time to be hand. And he's like, please don't make me hand. Like, I don't want to rule.
He pushes away and says that out loud though, because she's making this thing again. To your point, Jeff, she's trying to keep up. I think she's trying to keep up this image. I'm doing this. I'm the one. Yeah, I'm stepping up in Tywin's absence here.
Well, and she continues on. She's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Rule? You're not ruling his hand. Like, I'm Queen Regent. I'm controlling this thing right now. Like, you could follow in suit."
So I didn't take it that way. I took it as Jaime says, "I'm not ruling," and that's the first thing anybody else in the room has heard. And she's like, "Ruling? I didn't say anything of you ruling." Like, almost being like, "What are you talking about? Like, I didn't say you could be hand." You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't say anything about hand. She's like, I'm going to rule.
I said not of ruling. I shall rule until my son comes of age.
Exactly. She doesn't say, I said you would be hand and I would rule instead. She's like, I didn't say you would rule. I said, I'm going to rule.
You must take father's place as hand. You see that now, surely. He said, a bad jape, sister, don't ask me to rule.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But he says that out loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your point?
The point is what's said between the two of them and what's said out loud. He offers him handship between the two of them. He pushes away and says out loud. She even makes a point, like, all these people heard about this. That he said
their uncle heard their rebuff, Qyburn as well, and the Kettle Black.
So yeah.
So then she's like, I didn't say you could rule. I said I'm gonna rule. Like, I think she's trying to be like, not even like denying it. Be like, Jaime, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, somebody's got to be in charge. One of us has to be.
I almost think it's like, Jaime, shut the fuck up. That was an in-private thing.
I don't take it as that. I don't think she went and whispered to his ear like, "Yo, I'm fucking rolling."
She did.
She makes a big point about everybody hearing that he refused her. That they didn't hear what she says, but they heard when he refused. So I think this is her trying to pull back and be like, I didn't offer you anything. I'm not trying to make deals at the foot of our father's bed. Like, that's how I take this. And maybe I'm wrong about it.
She whispered the beginning part. It doesn't say I said not of ruling. It didn't say that when he says I don't want to rule. It didn't say that she then. Everybody heard that. It didn't say she went back to whispering.
No, I know. When she says I didn't say you were. When she says ruling, I said not of ruling. That's her publicly saying, "Hey, everyone who just heard Jaime say that I offered him some way of ruling. I did not offer him a way of ruling.
No,
I
it's
never
not even
said
that. It's like when you're in class and you're like, "Yo, Nelson, stop looking at my dick real loud," and like everybody hears it,
exactly.
And they all are like, and you're like, "Wow, I wasn't fucking looking at his dick."
Exactly.
Yeah, like
Jaime's like, you're letting me rule, and Cersei's like, "No, I'm not saying you can rule. What are you talking about? Where did that come from?"
Yeah, like, whoa, that's not what that. Yeah, with this conversation, yeah. So I see what you're saying, Nelson.
Yeah, I feel like she's not saying like you're wrong about how this dynamic would work. She just said we are heirs, almost as this would be a partnership. So I don't think she's saying like, no, you would just be a hand as a symbol, and I would be ruling. I think she's just saying, shut the fuck up. That wasn't a public statement that we just were talking about.
I don't completely agree.
I think it was more of a shut the fuck up. If either of us shows weakness right now, we will be out of here kind of issue. Like we need to be a united front on this, Jeff, is more of what that is. I think it's like, this is not the time to have this argument in public in front of these clowns that we don't fucking trust. Sure. And like everybody's going to hear about. Like, we need to, Dad is dead. Important shit needs to happen, and we need to be in control, because if we're not, it's going to slip away faster than not. So,
which is kind of to your point, Jeff.
I completely agree. I don't really agree everything with what Nelson's saying, because I also think she's like, I still think she's whispering to Jaime like, all right, you're gonna be hand because I don't want a Mace Tyrell to be hand, right? Because she's trying to control the situation as the regent. She's trying to establish this power as Queen Regent that wasn't really there with Tywin. That nobody really respected her as Queen Regent, right? Because they knew it was the hand's job. Where she feels in a way that she can at least manipulate Jaime to like she's thinking like she's pretty much treating Jaime like a puppet.
I'll agree as well to that, Jeff. Like that was kind of how I read it my time through. It was more of like, whoa. I wasn't offering you the head job. I was offering you place number 2. Like
assistant to me.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I think you were getting at there, Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I agree. That was how I read it the first time, but I think I also can see what Nelson was saying this time in like a whoa, like let's fucking shut up, man. Yeah. We're in public. Like,
for sure.
And I think one of the things that like that you were saying too, Jeff, is like she does a pretty good job throughout the chapter of being the one that like steps up and is in charge. So I think that also goes to my point of she's like, Jaime, shut up, let's handle this later. Like this isn't a public argument to have.
Well, for sure. But then it gets crazier because then he's like, I don't know who I pity more, Tommen or the Seven Kingdoms. Like that's a wild thing for Jaime to say in front of everybody too.
Oh yeah, that's
especially like when you kind of have like a up and down relationship with your sister right now. Like the last time they were together was super weird, right? In the White Tower.
Well, so I think Jaime definitely took what Cersei said the way you're saying. Right. He definitely took it as you wouldn't have been ruling, you would have been my fucking placeholder for me. But I don't know if that's what she meant. So I think Jaime definitely takes the
I
way
do think it's what she meant. I think she knew.
Okay. That's fair. I just feel like Cersei would have, like you're saying, would have been smart enough in the situation to know not to say that out loud, especially when she just made a point about how Jaime spoke out publicly when they were kind of having a private conversation.
But she needs to move because someone else is moving too, right? Like Mace is definitely like, shit, I can be hand now.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Like the beasts are moving in, like Kyle said earlier.
Right.
Yeah. It's not even hand though, Jeff. I think it's king at this point, right? Like I think everything is in play.
Hand is king because the king is so young.
Yes. And Tommen has a flimsy claim at best, and like everything. Like so, there's all these outsiders now. She has very little loyalists anymore, and it goes back to that whole tooth analogy, right? Like. Jaime just announced to the room essentially that the tooth is there, and
there's a hole to fill.
Really not a great claim from the Lannisters even right now, like because that's kind of what he said. He's like, whoa, I fuck that. Like we don't need that.
All right, let's power through. So she does slap the shit out of Jaime.
I think it's cool though that when she does it, she says like you would have caught it, but he put up the stump, and there's no hand to catch it.
So I went right through the ghost hand, and and then at this point she reflects on all of the hands that have screwed her over in the past.
Yep.
We kind of mentioned them before, right? John got her married to Robert, and she's like, all right, well, fuck it. If it's not going to be Jaime, it has to be Uncle Kevin.
Kevin was in, like we were saying earlier, Kevin's always just kind of the obedient one. He'll kind of do what I'm looking for.
Yeah. But everybody else got to be new. Like I don't
fuck them. I hate the whole small council.
Get them out. Exactly. Get them out. You're all fired. And we got to keep the Tyrells down. That's the biggest thing is we can't elevate them in this time.
So and again, I'm getting to the part of the chapter that I had to read. The audience might not know, but I had to read a little bit of the last chapter kind of quick because we were getting to the recording time, and I don't have notes on it. But this is the part that I skimmed through. So correct me if I'm wrong, but is she trying to retract the Marjorie marriage? Be like, Tywin was dumb for this. Is there a way we can get this off the table, or is that like?
I don't know if she went that far, but she's definitely not happy about it being Marjorie. But she wants she wants something examined, right? Like she doesn't.
She's like Varys. I want Varys to dig to find dirt on Marjorie. Basically,
I want Varys to dig, like find out what's going on. Like, are they finding out was she a maid? Like, is that the question? Like, was she a maid? If she wasn't, then is this wedding annulled?
I think she's looking for a loophole. Yeah. She doesn't know that Tyrion did it just yet, right?
No.
Okay. So
the Varys thing kind of spins the wheels. Like, where the fuck is Varys?
yeah, she could find out where he is. Yeah, she forgot him. He should be here. Yeah, he's not here. Jaime's here. Everybody else is the fuck here.
Even Maester Pycelle's old ass.
I guess that's kind of why she's very leery of the Tyrells too, though, because like she's like they could be involved in this. Like she still doesn't know who's to suspect, right? Like
I feel like there are two main suspects before she learns that Tyrion's
Stannis and and Mace. Yeah. So exactly. So I think that's kind of why she's trying to rebuff that Tommen marriage, but at the same time, I think she is kind of trying to make her own moves as well, right? Like she's definitely gonna try and put her own stamp on this whole situation.
Yeah. So then she goes into, I'll have to have Varys find out whatever he can about Marjorie. And he's like, wait a minute. If Pycelle has come and gone, where the fuck is Varys?
The Master of Whispers?
Yeah, the guy that knows about these holes. Yeah.
The one guy that probably knows about it isn't fucking here.
Exactly. He's like,
Could
he be working with Stannis? Exactly. She tells Maren Trant to go get his ass.
Yeah.
He's
yeah,
gone.
I mean, so this is kind of exciting for me in the sense of like Varys has been slippery so far. Like completely, and he's finally kind of getting the pinch, and he's pretty much said in the past like, yeah, you're fucked if I'm in the pinch because I don't care, like I'm gonna do whatever gets me out of it. So that really leads to an interesting, next couple steps here from these people, because I mean he was directly involved.
Quick hypothetical, couldn't he show up, like couldn't he have showed up in this chapter, or could he still show up and be like, hey, I have some information about this, but not give everything. Like, hey, I know a little bit about these passages, but I don't know everything.
I mean, that is his game, right? Like, that's always been his game. But at the same time, like, I feel like Jaime's gonna, I don't know, but then that implicates Jaime.
Exactly. I think you have this weird, what's that called, where like two people know that they both did like a bad thing, so that neither of them can like really rat on the other one. I think
it's like kind of like a dead man switch is kind of the idea behind it. That's not right. No, the one I don't want to say what it is.
I don't know. Like you can't incriminate you incriminate yourself by like being a witness.
Yeah, by incriminating the other person, you incriminate yourself. Yeah, but yeah, interesting thought about Varys.
All right, so in this whole point, Boris Blunt, and it's like, yo, he's all red faced, like he ran up these damn steps. Tyrion's gone. He's not in a cell. The jailers get out too. The guy named Rugen. We don't know where he's at. And the other two are fucking sleeping.
One jailer missing, two were sleeping.
And she's like, well, you keep those motherfuckers sleeping forever. Kill those guys. And she's like, she just starts to panic, right? Tyrion's in the walls. He's laughing at us. He's going to kill Tom. And it's all downhill.
He killed mom, killed dad, killed my son. Now he's in the walls. Right? Like,
it's a scary thought.
It's like, is it paranoia? Sure. No, she's kind of right. The mother thing is a stretch. The Joffrey thing is wrong, but if she believes that, then it's understandable.
Him possibly being in the walls right now is completely believable.
For 100%.
He's scurrying around in the walls.
The only guy that can like stand upright right now and get through there is there with a crossbow. It's horror film in the making right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Crossbow in the walls.
Interesting line in here, though. The dwarf would come for her as well, the queen knew, just as the old woman had promised in the dimness of that tent. I laughed in her face, but she had powers. I saw my future in a drop of blood, my doom. Her legs were weak as water.
I was going to ask about that. Was that, were they there for that?
We don't know anything about that. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was some other show or movie with the trope of the fortune teller, or if it was this. So I was like, I don't know if we saw that or not. Like when everybody was here earlier for the tourney or something like that. Like we were sat in with this and Sansa or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't sure.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thought it to myself to mean like when he was talking about everything you love will turn to ash or whatever. I kind of thought it was on that vibe. I mean, obviously it was a fortune teller situation, sounds like, but who, I don't know.
And then she says, your grace, or Blunt says, your grace, shall I fetch a cup of water? It's blood I need, not water. Tyrion's blood, the blood of the Valonqar. So there's that word.
And then she goes into a spinning panic.
Tyrion, she sees visions of Tyrion. Yeah.
Kyle, a lot of thoughts along the way. I thought this was a good chapter.
Does Tyrion choke her? No, is that the end?
She just feels like she can't breathe. Yeah.
His fingers closed around her neck and she could feel them beginning to tighten. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't get choked. It was just like her breath, shortening and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, she didn't get choked, but that's the last line. But his fingers closed around her
neck.
Nelson. Maybe Tyrion actually. He actually came out back out of the passageway through all the guards. Past.
I mean, I'm just saying that in her crazy vision.
Physically,
this is this is a book analysis podcast, and you're correcting my opinionated analysis of what is happening next. Like, the whole point is my predictions, right? He didn't actually choke her.
Just clarifying what the book actually says.
I'm just
Go ahead, Kyle. What do we think?
If they wanted to read the fucking book, they'd read the book. No, I already gave it, man. I feel like this has been like I said, I've been pumped about this book so far for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sorry it took me until book 4. Is this 4?
Yep.
To get maybe so excited. I don't know. Hopefully it was along the way, but
I love it. Feast. We're excited though.
Everyone's excited. I mean,
so that was kind of where I'm at.
All right.
Well, we went longer than I expected on this one, so we'll let you go, and we'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Next one. Do you see the next chapter?
Brienne.
Wow. Looked ahead, spoiled yourself.
Another great new PV, right?
New pop.
Yeah, and I look forward to her. She was pretty cool so far.
All right. Bye, Kyle. I got to pee.
Cool.
Bye, Kyle.
Bye.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you on the next one for Brienne 1. Nels, what are your hot takes?
First one, Cersei's dream. She's naked in it. And then later we hear the story.
I think the bigger thing with the dream is that the sword, the throne is cutting her.
Okay, well, let's go on that. Because of the whole throne cutting people being like, you're not fit for
You're not fit. Yeah.
Yeah. So she doesn't actually get to sit the throne in real world because she's a woman and there's always somebody else in the way. But like even in her dreams, she's still getting cut by the throne. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. There's two things that's one of them that I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Do you think she does, like, after her walk of atonement? Where do we end, Cersei? Like, she had her trial, or
just
her
after the walk of atonement?
That's the end of her story.
I think so.
We have written. So, like, do you think she goes on full like power trip Cersei with the mountain, like kills everybody type thing, and becomes queen?
I mean, everyone's turning on her. She has no power. The thing is, where we leave off, Kevin just got killed by Varys because he knows Kevin is keeping things too good. Like Varys is trying to pave the way for Aegon to take over, so he needs shit to be not
chaos.
He needs chaos, and Kevin has things too well under wraps. So the epilogue of Dance of Dragons is Varys killing Kevin because of that.
Yeah.
The implication, I think, is somehow Cersei is going to fill that role. Again, whether she has any legal precedent to, probably no. Because
I mean, at some point she's just gonna take it and say, "I have an army, fight me for it."
Yeah, but the council, that's true. I probably in the council, but the council has already seemingly like kind of shunned her away. But yeah, most people think that the Winds of Winter, one of the big plots is going to be Aegon. One of the first plots is going to be Aegon versus Cersei.
Yeah,
and that Fagon's going to win. Cersei might have to escape to Castle Rock, I think, is the fan theory, and that Aegon will be holding King's Landing when Dany shows up.
But yeah, so that was my dream thing. What are you going on in the dream? She's naked?
Well, you kind of pointed to it. She's naked, and then I think also it kind of relates to the story of when Tywin found out that Tytos died, comes home, and the whore that he had been sleeping with, she might not have been a whore, she was a mistress, had been wearing his mother's jewels and clothes. Mm-hmm. He makes her, Tywin does what to that woman?
Walk around naked.
Walk around naked for 2 weeks. And then we have Cersei with the Walk of Atonement. So the first Cersei chapter we get, the very first thing is her having a dream of her being in charge, but then being stripped naked and having everybody laugh at her.
And being naked and in front of everybody. Yeah.
And everyone's laughing at her. And then the last chapter I'm pretty sure we have of Cersei is the Walk of Atonement. I also kind of lied to Kyle.
Interesting bookmark.
The one interesting thing about Feast of Crows and Dance of Dragons, how they work is Feast of Crows ends, Dance of Dragons picks up. The first 3/4 of Dance of Dragons are the other characters. The last quarter of Dance of Dragons
we get back into it.
Yeah, pulls in a lot of, I think the Cersei Walk of Atonement, for example, might be Dance of Dragons. Like the last Feast of Crows Cersei chapter might be her getting locked up, and then we won't see her again for the first 3/4 of Dance of Dragons, and then we only get like 1 or 2 chapters of her in Dance. So that might not be exact, but it's something like that. Same with Jaime.
I believe you.
I think we get like 1 or 2 Jaime chapters towards the end of Dance, and like Arya. So some of those characters start showing up again. So I kind of lied to Kyle when I said, like, at the end of this book, we'll know everything you know about, like, Cersei. Yeah. But, yeah.
Not true. You liar.
Yep.
All right, what else you got?
Valonqar.
I have one other thing. Yeah, all right. So
I should let you go.
Yeah, let me go, and then, because I feel like you're going to spend some time on Valonqar.
I thought Valonqar was going to be your thing.
Well, yeah, but I just knew it was going to be your thing. I think this is something that I don't know if you have or maybe even thought about.
Okay.
Why the fuck is Shay's face black?
Well, I think what that reminds me of is what. Did you have anything that was making you think of before I taint you?
Well, I mean, she tells us what to think of it.
Well, when I think of black in Game of Thrones, I think of the White Walker's hands and feet, because that's where, when they're dead, the blood pools.
Save for her face, which had turned as black as Joff's had at the wedding feast. She was choked.
Yep.
Choked.
Yep.
I don't know of a face turning black hours after being choked.
I don't think so, but I think if you read the Tyrion chapter, she was on the bed, and when he starts choking her, at least this is how it is in the show. That might be getting me fucked up. Her head is the only thing that's hanging off the bed. And the reason the White Walkers have and cold hands have black hands and black feet are because when they die, that's where the blood pools. So they're alive, but they have all this blood pooled in their hands and feet. So the rest of them is pale and the blood's pooled. So that's my only thought is her head is hanging off the bed and the blood pooled. But I'm thinking that's a show only thing. So
I think it's super weird that in this amount of time, her face turns as black as a poisoned face. Now, I don't think Shay was poisoned at all. It doesn't make... The only thing that, like, would Shay have been poisoned? Maybe a slow poison that... And this is super aluminum foil hat theory.
Yeah, tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat, which is aluminum foil.
It's the same thing, but I've never heard someone call like a crazy theory aluminum foil. But I agree with you that tinfoil and aluminum foil are the same thing. But
Tyrion had her up in his room to poison her seduce her. He poisoned her to then get rid of her.
So there's this Tywin was secretly poisoning Shay. Where I thought you were going with this was she accidentally drank some of the Tywin poison. Because there's a theory that Tywin was secretly being poisoned.
Right. Which is why he's pooping.
Which is why he's pooping. And there's only one line, I was looking out for it in this chapter. There's only one line. She's like, I didn't even recognize him when I saw him on the bed, but my nose wrinkled up because the smell was so bad. Yeah. That's one of the things is he smells really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was just like, I don't even know, even if her head is off, how quickly the color would change.
With that, yeah, I agree. I think that is weird, the Shay's face thing. If anybody has any thoughts on that, leave them in the comments. But for the Tywin's thinking thing, I will say, I'm not a hunter, but I've gone hunting.
You've shot deer in the last 5 years.
I go once a year. I don't know if I would call myself a hunter, but if you shoot a deer in the guts, like if you hit intestines or stomach, it will stink worse than if you don't hit it in the guts. So
that makes sense. So
100%, but Tywin got shot in the guts. So maybe that's why he stinks. A lot of people contributed to this secret poison. Yeah. That could be part of it. So.
For sure. All right, Valonqar, let's hop into the name. Is it actually a Game of Thrones word?
Game of Thrones word means little brother. It's Valyrian, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it means little brother. What are the thoughts on this?
The interesting part is that she said that in the drop of blood, she saw her doom. Right, so she knows her end. Whether I don't know. I only know really the show. I don't know if we get more. How much more of this? I'm sure she reflects on it again.
I think you're
like
selling yourself short. You know more than what is in the show. I think because the show doesn't really have anything about this.
What do you mean? There was the whole scene of her at the tent.
Yeah, but I think it's a decent amount bigger in the books. Like she talks about how many bastards. The king will have 16 children, you will have 3. And she's like, wait, what? Like, I'm trying to pull it up because I don't have it.
Yeah, that was in the show. I think that was in the show, though, too.
Was it? Okay. Maybe I'm not giving the show enough credit.
I don't know. Maybe I'm giving the show too much credit. But I remember him saying, like, oh, the king will have many, you will have 3.
Just on a Reddit. Cersei, will I wed the prince? Maggie, never. You will wed the king. Cersei, I will be queen, though. I, queen you shall be until there comes another, younger and more beautiful to cast you down and take all that you hold dear. Like, I don't think that's in the show. Then Cersei, will the king and I have children? Oh, I, 6 and 10 for him and 3 for you. Gold shall be their crowns and gold their shrouds.
Yeah. I think it's
when your
similar.
Tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you.
That's all not in the show.
That's the Valonqar part though.
Yeah. I don't think the Valonqar. I think after like gold will be their shrouds. She kind of like laughs and like ha ha ha, like fuck you, your kids will die.
Gotcha.
But I'm pretty sure the beginning is pretty. So yeah, like all right. So Tyrion's gonna choke her. Like,
Valonqar means little brother.
And they're both her little brother.
I think we know technically Jaime was born like a few minutes after her. So yeah, technically they're both her little brothers. But then people take this to mean any little brother. So like the Hound is Gregor's little brother.
Yeah.
So could he do it? So I don't know.
Uncle Kevin, he's dead. Never mind.
Yeah, he's dead now. But yeah, that would be one. But like
a lot of little brothers out there.
Again, I think pretty much anybody who is the little brother in Game of Thrones has probably at one point been has been theorized to be the Valonqar. But yeah, I think
Bran kills Cersei.
She thinks it's again, sometimes I am tempted to believe that it's not a Lannister just because Cersei is 100% convinced it's Tyrion, which as readers means we should be thinking Jaime.
Right.
Which
is too obvious, so you should be thinking of the Hound.
Almost too obvious as a reader.
Stannis is a little brother.
Exactly, like any of these people. So
there's a lot of little brothers out there.
Or if we're going Valyrian, and does gender matter? So does this also mean little sister? So does this mean Arya? Cersei's on Arya's list, right? So
Dany.
Dany. People have theorized again. People have theorized all this.
Or Ashara Dane. She comes back.
Now you're just trolling, but this is again. I think this is one of the cool theories that people have out there. I think Valonqar could be I think if you're going the route that it's Valyrian and it applies to any little brother or little sister because Valyrian could be genderless, I think then it's just a misdirect, right? Basically, if you figure out that it means any little brother or any little sister, then it's at a point where it's not descriptive at all. So it could be anybody. So it's almost like a misdirect the whole time. Like we shouldn't care. Anybody could kill Cersei. But I think another interesting part about this process people don't talk about is shall wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you. Because like as fans, if we think Cersei's wrong and it's not Tyrion, then who is going to choke Cersei? If it's one of her brothers, Jaime, who doesn't have a hand.
You could one-hand choke her.
Shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat. So again, there are theories that Jaime could, if you had a gold metal hand
and the gold hand to pin her down.
And Tyrion kills Shay with the gold hand. So there's another theory that Jaime could literally just kill Cersei the same way Tyrion killed Shay, and that would be wrapping his hands around her pale white throat. The pale white throat could be: is Cersei a white?
Is she still a human?
Is she already a white when this happens?
But why would you choke a white? That ain't getting nothing done.
I mean, if all you have, Cersei comes in as a white wearing the gold necklace, and Jaime's there without anything else.
Yeah, but then it'd just be a white with a choked head. Like
that's true. It's not going to kill it.
You need the zombie.
You need a white. You need to fire it. Yeah, that's true. But so I guess it's a good point. Pale white doesn't mean.
There's one other spot that Kyle didn't. I've only now thought about. Are you done with Valonqar? I think it is interesting.
Yep, we're good to move on.
Kyle didn't really think about it, but the jailer not being there.
Rugen.
Right, when we find out Varys has been the Rugen, right?
Yep. And that's why he's not here. He has shifts to make up.
Yeah.
he's been missing. He's got to go.
He's earning his paycheck.
Exactly.
Rugen just shows back up.
So I think Varys is another kind of interesting thing because we don't see Varys until the epilogue of Dance of Dragons. Like last time we saw him was with the last Tyrion chapter. We don't see him again until epilogue of Dance of Dragons when he shows up. That's a Kevin chapter. That's from Kevin's point of view. Varys shows up at the end and kills him. So kind of like where is Varys? Is he in the walls literally for the next book and a half? Or
is he with Illyrio?
Does he? Yeah, he's like go away and come back. We don't know. So I think that's interesting too.
Is he just in disguise, like walking around people?
Yeah,
that because he's got a bunch, right?
You never know. Is he just being Rugen for a year? Yeah, we don't know. The last point I had was just I feel like Qyburn. This is the seeds being planted of Cersei's and Qyburn's creepy ass, horrible, fucked up relationship that grows.
It's also weird that why is Qyburn here? Why was he even close to this? That feels fishy. Like, oh wait, here's this weird maester that's chilling around the dead hand. Like, oh, he just happened to be up here and about.
I didn't think about that from like a what was Qyburn doing perspective, but from like a literary perspective, when I was taking notes in the chapter, I'm like, it is weird. Cersei literally tells these two random guards, like, hey, go find Maester Balabar or Franken to deal with this. And then she turns and tells somebody else to do something. Hold on, let me find where that is. Yeah, so she tells Puckins and Short Ear to go find Balabar or Franken or any of them. Then she asks where Jaime is. They tell her that he went down the ladder to the secret tunnel to see where it goes. She thinks that's dumb, and she was about to command somebody to go get Jaime.
Yeah.
When they come back with Qyburn. So to your point, like she literally says, "Go find a maester. Where's Jaime? They're down. He's down the hole." And she's like, "Go get him."
Yeah.
But then they're back.
And turns
already.
around, and Qyburn's already there.
So like, he was literally he was waiting on the stairs.
It's fishy.
It is fishy from his point of view, but I mean, maybe he knew what he was doing. Maybe.
Why is he there? Why is he there? He's not a maester. He's a weirdo dude that does experiments on people.
It's also cool. Next Cersei chapter, we'll find out why he lost. Like he got kicked out of the Citadel.
He was doing experiments, wasn't he?
He was doing experiments on live people. Yeah. He's like people cut up dead bodies to find out how they work. Cutting up live bodies tells you how they work better. It's basically what he tells Cersei.
Psycho.
I'm pretty sure.
He's psycho.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty sure like Galileo did Da Vinci. Not Galileo. Da Vinci. Didn't he draw pictures of like the human body? Yeah. I think he definitely did dissections. I think he flirted with some I think there was some famous people that flirted with some vivisections. I wouldn't know. Which is like cutting open live people to see how it works. I think
I wouldn't know.
You guys can Google that one on your own, but that's what Qyburn was doing.
That makes it okay. Da Vinci did it.
But yeah, do you remember like kind of how their relationship goes in the books? Because again, like where we're at in the books is Qyburn basically, I think, has just presented Robert Strong to Cersei, like no further. So we don't even know anything about Robert Strong, who is in the show. That would be the Mountain. Right?
Yeah, it's the Mountain. Whew, no, I don't know. I get too much confused. Like I know he becomes Hand in the show. Like I don't expect him. Does he become a part of her council? Does he sit on the council with her? Does he become the Master of Whispers for her? Like is he Little Bird?
Yeah, I think he might become the Master of Whispers, and he is basically like her torturer. So she has him torture a lot of people so that they will confess about doing things with Marjorie.
Right. Like her cousins and shit.
Her cousins, exactly. The Marjorie has a bard, I think, called the Blue Bard, who he tortures not to confess that he did anything, but that he played while she was doing things with. So he gets all the different people he tortures all the different people to basically confess to the same thing to make it seem more likely. Yeah. But also he keeps asking for like women.
I don't remember.
Like Cersei, I think some people think she's pregnant, but she's definitely at least gaining weight and kind of growing out of some of her dresses. And she blames this on Sinel, her handmaid, shrinking her dresses. So she gives Sinel, and she learned. Well, that's one thing, but she also learns. Dumb excuse. I think she also learns Sinel is ratting on, like spying on her for Marjorie, or at least like Taina Merryweather tells her that. So she gives Sinel to Qyburn. And then Qyburn comes and is like, Sinel's quite used up.
Oh, draining her blood.
And then after Bronn kills Felice Stoke, so I think Lady Tanda Stokeworth dies somehow. So Felice becomes queen, or Lady of Stokeworth.
Lady.
Then they show up and they're like, Bronn sucks. He's being horrible. And Cersei's like, take care of him. Like, make sure he dies on like a hunting accident or something like that. And then Felice comes back a few chapters later and is like, hey, my lord husband challenged Bronn to a one-on-one duel and got shit on. And now Bronn said that he's Lord of Stokeworth and that Lady Lalys is the lady and I need to get out of here. And she's just like complaining to Cersei. And Cersei's like, what do I do with this? And Qyburn's like, I need more ladies to experiment on, and he's like, take Felice. So she just like kind of keeps throwing like any woman who's like a problem for her at Qyburn.
That's really interesting. I don't remember that at all.
But it seems like he has an interest in like women specifically. I think he might even say like, I need another. Like, do you have any more ladies you can like give to me? So it's like, and I don't think Qyburn's like raping them. I think he is experimenting on them. I'm really curious to like why.
Strange.
And maybe I'm wrong about this. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I feel like that he wants women specifically. Like, why? I have no idea why.
I can't give you anything.
Like, is for some reason he need women to get the mountain back up on his feet, right? Because all this is while he's still healing the mountain, right? You don't see the mountain till the end. So like, does he somehow need women to like? So yeah, I think the Qyburn stuff is really interesting. I think this is really cool because it's like Cersei says like, if you fail me, I'll take more than your chain. He's like, bet, I'm in. So I think kind of to your point, Qyburn was waiting for this. He was trying to he got us in with Jaime. He was like, now let's climb the ladder. So
interesting.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, let's wrap her up.
That's all I have for this one. We'll see the rest of you guys in the next chapter for Brienne.
Brienne. What were you going to say? Brienne?
I've been listening to the audiobook. He says Brienne.
That guy's a dope.
I really like his voice acting, but yeah, he says some.
I think his voice acting is awful. Just listening to Duncan Egg, it's awful.
You listen to a random guy on YouTube, the guy that does the real audiobooks that you pay for.
Yeah.
He does a better job. But yeah, he says some names.
The YouTube guy is a dope.
He's a little bit of a dope. But yeah, so we'll see you guys in the next one for Brienne 1, which is basically a mini Duncan Egg story, which is why Brienne's great.
Yeah, that's why she's Dunk's daughter.
Granddaughter, great-granddaughter.
Nope, actual daughter. Bye.
We'll see you guys in that one. Bye.